All right, hello everybody. My name is Master Chen,
I'm Zenify.
and you are watching or listening to Mental Overflow.
It's a Friday. We're doing 2 shows today.
I know we're doing 2 shows today, so we're gonna record them. They'll be out separately, but we're gonna record 2. This is the first of the recording, but it is episode 6. Let's do a little recap of what's been going on. So first of all, like I said, I'm Master Chen, and you can get me at Chenbox on Twitter. That's ChenB0X.
You need to get me on Twitter as Zenify_EXE.
And you can get us both on Twitter at Mental Overflow. Mental Overflow.
Mm-hmm. Pretty easy.
Yeah, nothing weird about that. Nothing weird about that handle or username. So we are in the works of recording as much as we can, just to provide content for everybody. And if anybody's been watching, we've kind of turned this into a little bit of a series. At least that's how we're starting off.
Yeah.
Okay, we're starting off by having a series of kind of like establishing almost like a foundation of our experience with social engineering and hacking and all these things. So we're talking about concepts in each. We're going to be focusing on different concepts each episode for the time being until maybe we schedule some interviews.
I think interviews are like not skits, but more live action, like outside of a room with a camera.
Yeah,
something.
Actually, what I was thinking about now, yes, you're hearing us discuss how we're going to be producing this, but what I was thinking is we'll have Mental Overflow like in the classroom, and then I was talking about that social engineering thing, where it's like a 2 or 3 minute video, like out and about. Yeah. We'll see where that goes.
How it goes, yeah.
In any case, this is episode 6 again, like I said, for the 3rd time. Mm-hmm. So the last couple of episodes, we've talked about open-ended questions. We've talked about framing, and we've talked about pretexting. Mm-hmm. And so all of these concepts are kind of building on top of each other. And today, I've had, now they're not a sponsor, but I've had Truly. This is great. It's alcoholic water. So it's still blowing your mind, right?
I can't believe.
Alcoholic water. It tastes great.
Someone sold their soul to fucking develop that.
No calories, and it does get you relaxed. All right, so today, to build on these episodes that we've been building, or these series, we're going to be talking about mirroring today. So mirroring as it pertains to influence, and I'll get into that. What I mean by that is you'll see this a lot in those mentalist shows, or maybe some hypnotism. So I've seen this done before, and I haven't done this for a very long time, but I want to see if I can do this on Zenify. He does not know that I'm about to do this. So, all right, Zenify, I want to see how well I can influence you. I could fail. I don't know. Yeah. All right, so I want you to go ahead and take your hand like this, like make a little OK symbol like this. Okay, and I want you to go ahead and put it right there on your chin. I caught you like halfway, right? Yeah. Where were you about to put it?
On my cheek.
You were about to put it on your cheek, even though I said chin. Now, at the very last minute, you caught it.
I was trying to listen as much as I could, and I was like,
"Yeah, I saw you correct that right at the last, the last minute. You corrected.
I wonder if that.
I don't know. Did they catch that on?
I did it on this side, so I don't know. I'll have to look. If I can, I'll get mindless to like edit like a zoom.
But
he did it.
For those of you who may have noticed, at home, that's what I was going for. I was trying to see if I can get you to. Even though I said chin, put it on your cheek. And, I saw that at a mentalist show. It was a hypnotist show here in Vegas. I forgot the exact name of the thing. So it's not my bit. It's just I wanted to use that because it kind of goes along with what we're talking about today. Okay, my point being, it's used in hypnotism. It's used in mentalism. I've also seen, like, for instance, a mentalist trick is they would say stuff like, think of a shape. I want you to think of a shape in your head, and what kind of shape were you thinking? Triangle. Now, what was I doing though?
You were doing this.
I was doing this, right? So there are these little subtle hints that we can use to kind of influence what you're thinking about. Not that and it's not 100% guarantee. Like I'm going to get him to think about a triangle. Yeah. Again, not my bit. These are things that I've seen, but I'm gathering all this information and kind of what's the word for it? Curating. I'm curating all this social engineering. Information so that we can make it like a digestible form, right?
So then, do you have an example outside of like a mentalist show? Like, how would this maybe be used against like a secretary trying to get an interview with a CEO or something?
Definitely. I mean, like you've seen, we've talked about influencing in sales a little bit, and we could elaborate on that in future episodes. But we've talked about sales persuasion and sales influence. I mean, go to your car dealership and see how they work, and really take notes. So the thing is, a lot of people who do social engineering, and I don't mean like in the penetration testing sense or the con artist sense.
Yeah.
I just mean in an everyday sales, persuasion, influence type of manner. A lot of them don't understand that what they are doing is, to some degree, social engineering, or at least a concept or facet of it, right? And so that's what I'm trying to show here, okay? So again, these are things that I've kind of seen around. So, okay, I gave you the cheek and chin example. I gave you the thing. I want you to think about a triangle.
Yeah.
Okay. Or I didn't say think about a triangle. I asked you to, what shape are you thinking about? And you're saying triangle.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it doesn't work all the time.
Yeah.
But it increases the percentage or the probability that you would go along with what I'm trying to influence you with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what we're talking about today is influence, and more specifically mirroring. Okay, so what I mean by mirroring is like, let's say, actually, shit, I don't even think I answered your fucking question.
Which part was it? Oh, yeah,
Well, so when it comes to outside examples, I guess I would have to kind of get back to you on that, only because there are examples out there everywhere if you're paying attention. I kind of alluded to using the car salesperson as an example if you want to draw notes from. You mentioned the secretary and how they are influenced. And so I guess to be more direct with your question, a secretary, it could be assumed, and I'm not saying that they necessarily are, but it could be assumed that they are low-lying fruit in the office environment, right? Yeah. Like, so their job is to be a receptionist, to file paperwork, to do the administrative tasks, right? So in our environment, they're not fixing things, they're not building servers, they're not, and again, I'm not saying that they're low on the totem pole, but they are the first point of contact to anybody walking in. So usually that's the person that you want to influence because they're the ones who make schedules, they're the ones who make phone calls, and that's probably why it's more so a point of influence or contact. As far as examples of how to influence the secretary, I mean, like, there have been hundreds of books written on it, like hundreds of books written on the low-lying fruit. Yeah. That's just something that we'll have to look for, and I think I already know what our next episode is going to be. Okay. But we'll get into that. So how do we influence? How do we talk about how do we dissect? How do we dissect what we're talking about here as far as like influence and raising the probability that you're going to think the way I want you to think? Okay. I've seen this now. I've used the mind manipulation book as an example by Dr. Ha Lung before. Yeah. I've seen this example here first, and then I've also seen it in Social Engineering, The Art of Human Hacking by Chris Hadnagy. Yeah. I use these two books a lot because these two books actually have a lot, and I do mean a lot, in common. I just read Mind Manipulation first. So this is where I saw it first. But in both books, and more specifically in Mind Manipulation, they're talking about how humans take in information about the world. Okay? You have visual learners, people who learn by watching. They can watch and they can figure it out and they can learn, and then boom, they got the concept. They know more or less. They know what's going on, right? Yeah. You have the audible learner. These are the people who really like to listen to podcasts. They can listen to a lecture and get it without taking a note. They just listen to the lecture. Okay, cool, I got it, right? And then you have the people who are kinetic learners, meaning physical. They need to tinker with stuff. Usually they're makers and hackers because they need to see what breaks, and how they broke it, and that really influences the way they learn. So you have these three types of learning styles. Okay, you have the visual learner, you have the audible learner, and then you have the kinetic learner. And if you can determine what your target uses as a learning style, you can influence them by kind of tailoring your speech or tailoring your tactics to how they learn or how they take in information around the world or about the world. I'm sorry. Yeah. So, like, for instance, and now there are ways that you can figure out what kind of learner they are by their speech pattern. They'll say things like, let's take the visual learner, for instance. They'll say things like, that doesn't look right, or looks great to me. They're obviously describing the world as if they've seen it, or, their eyes, right? The audible learner will say something like, doesn't ring a bell, or, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I never picked up on that before.
See, now you just start paying attention to that one.
Yeah.
Or, doesn't sound good, or doesn't ring a bell, or, so audible cues, and I know I used sounds in both examples, but think about audible types of words that they use to explain the world. That's how you can tell what kind of a learner they are.
Yeah.
Make sense so far?
No, it totally makes sense. I'm trying to think of an example of like being at work or somewhere where somebody's used that phrase, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I'm sure you will, especially now that you're going to be probably paying more attention, right? And then the kinetic learner, of course, same thing. I don't like the way that feels, or I was trying to use an example of an itch, right? Like, my ears are burning, right? Now,
for some reason, I think of the phrase like that doesn't tickle my insides.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Though they're talking about a kinetic or tactile type of sensation, and they're explaining the way that they view or perceive the world, and that's how you can tell.
Like that's how I think I would phrase something, because I kept thinking of that, because I do consider myself a kinetic
and you're
learner.
A tinkerer, you're a hacker. You spent the last month working with a 3D printer. Here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So these are your example of your learning styles. And so what I'm trying to get at here is, if you know this and if you could really concentrate and master this, you can raise your chances of you raise your probability of influence, raising your probability of making that friend, or getting that appealing friendship, or really influencing the person.
Yeah.
So any comments on that so far?
No, just the fact that like now it's almost opened up a whole new world for me to pay attention to another type of source of information I could, because I'm all about gathering information.
Right.
And for some reason, I just never thought about that as an attack vector in a way, because it's just learning more information about somebody that they wouldn't offer to tell you. They're not going to go up to you and go, "Hey, I just met you. My name is Chen. By the way, I'm a kinetic learner."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so it's just because I think of everything of like logging everybody in a file. Like, so I know this person, and this is all the stuff that's listed with them. And I just add on, they're this type of learner. You never know. Even if I go to try and sell them something later, I know that I'm not going to sell them on a certain thing that might be against their habits in a way.
Right. I get what you're saying. And it's, you can learn a lot from what is said, but you could probably learn more from what is not said.
Oh yeah, there's a book that I read that oh man, I can't remember the author. I'll have to figure that out. But the book is called "What Every Body Is Saying."
The FBI
FBI
agent. Yeah. I have that book. I actually haven't read that yet, but I heard it was great.
It's a fantastic book.
So, what did you learn from that book as it pertains to this lesson?
Well, at least from stuff that is not said, so much is done with the feet, like direction of the feet. If they're tapping, or if they're like one shifted forward or not, they might be in like a certain stance. You could read so much about the body language, like a high percentage from the lower half of the body instead of the upper half. It's pretty cool.
Interesting. And now I really have to jump into this book. But something that I know about you, Zenify, is that if your eyes are opened to a new concept or a new thing, you investigate the shit out of it. So now that I've kind of opened your eyes to this, I think you're just gonna tear that apart. So I mean, let me know how it works for you. I'm sure that you'll have some sort of result in the next couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, and now the last thing I actually wanted to touch upon pertaining to this kind of avenue is. I've mentioned it so many times this episode, but we haven't really talked about it, is mirroring. When I say talked about it, I mean, so mirroring is different from these three learning styles in a sense that mirroring is a way for you to subconsciously or indirectly build camaraderie with your target. What I mean by that is right now, like the way you're sitting, you're right there. So if I want to build camaraderie with you, I'd probably sit the same way that you do. So that you and I are sitting here and seeing each other eye to eye, right? Now, I could change the way I do this, or depending on what I'm trying to do, by leaning back to maybe draw you in, or moving forward to maybe push you back a little bit, or depending on how I'm reading your body language. See, there you go. That now you're a little bit intrigued, or you're thinking.
I'm thinking about an example where there's two different people I acquaint with pretty frequently. One stands farther away, and I'm constantly moving towards that person. So I don't know if that's a specific tactic that they do. And then I have another one who may or may not be a boss of mine, and he talks very fucking close to you. I think that's more of a power style.
It could be a power style, but also remember that it could be a cultural difference. Like there are cultures where to talk to you like almost nose to nose is normal.
Okay.
You know, whereas we're Americans, we like to have a little bit of our space, a little bit of our personal bubble. So there's cultural differences, and that's something that you want to look out for. But when I say mirroring here, if I know that I'm trying to, like, let's say, change your mind, okay, I'm going to mirror you a little bit, not a lot, not to the point where it becomes obnoxious.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm going to mirror you to the point where you start to let down your walls a little bit. You start to let down your guard so that you can actually hear what I'm trying to say or what I'm trying to convince you of. Okay. So again, we have this example here. I could change the way, you know, I'm also probably going to mirror your speech pattern.
Yeah.
If I could start taking notes and picking up on it, I'm going to start to use those types of words, that verbiage to get in your mind a little bit, right?
I've noticed that too.
So now that I know that you're a kinetic learner, I'm going to start saying things like, how does that feel? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's another aspect of mirroring.
That's interesting.
So any thoughts on that?
No, it just I mean everything that I really that I hear from you, I try and relate to something that I've basically physically done, and you know, outside of what we're talking about here, because it just helps me connect the dots. And then once I've connected those dots, I'm like, holy shit! Like,
well, the more and now this is where I'm going to go all philosophical and everything, but you heard me say it before, like hacking to me is a way of life. Martial arts to me is a way of life. Same thing with social engineering. It's just another tool, and the more dots you connect, of course, it's just all about power. Not in a manipulative sense, but the sense of power when it comes to wanting to influence somebody, or getting your way, sure, but more of getting things working, moving forward, not stagnating. You got to influence maybe some people to get the ball rolling, to get things going. You know, and that's something that I have always remembered. And you know, when we're producing things, do you want to be the type of person who puts people down in a way that they just don't want to work for you or with you, or are you the type of person to use what you're learning now to build people up and to influence them? A lot of influence is not by speech; it's by getting into their mind with the way their learning styles, mirroring.
What is that one quote with, like, it's related to the building up? I think it was by Al Capone. It was, you get a lot farther with a kind word and a gun than just a gun alone.
Oh, that's a great quote. I mean, I don't know if it was Al Capone or not. We'll have to check on that. I wish we had a fact checker at the time. But that's a great quote.
Yeah.
And there's some other ones out there. Maybe we'll have a episode fully of just like quotes that we like and why.
Yeah.
Holy crap! I think that's going to be episode 8. No, just kidding. As you can tell, we kind of fly by our seat to do this.
Yeah.
But really, that's all I wanted to talk about in this lesson. So,
okay.
Do you have any other comments, Zenify?
No. I think that's pretty much it.
All right. So we're recording 2 episodes today, but we're going to release them on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So join us again next week.
Yeah.
Or, you know, a few weeks from... Well, anyway, you'll see.
The timeline's messed up in our heads.
But that's okay.
But it'll be concurrent for you.
Yeah, after you watch this, there will be another one a week from the now. The now.
Yeah.
So, again, we are open to sponsorships. I'm really working hard on building our Patreon page and setup. I still have to work on that.
I think we should... I mean, I'm going to announce it now. We're going to get an Audible sponsorship. It'll be something like audible.com/mental overflow. We're going to get that because we reference so many books that we want everybody to read. And I know one of the main things that you do is when you sign up, you get a free credit right away. So something I just did with one of my credits was I bought 48 Laws of Power because you were just talking about that last episode.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Another great fucking book, okay?
Yeah.
Anything by Robert Greene, great book. But, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, if and when they become a sponsor, I can't wait. I can't wait for anybody who wants to be a sponsor. So, if you want to support us through our Patreon, we will figure it out and link it down below.
Oh, yeah.
And we will, I mean, if you want to ask us questions, get at us at Mental Overflow on Twitter currently, and we'll build some other things.
Yeah.
I am at Chenbox, CHENB0X.
And I'm at Zenify_EXE.
And as this whole thing goes on, we hope to reach more and more people. So, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.